Every woman carries a secret she protects more fiercely than anything else. It is not her past, her experiences, or even what she claims to want. It is something far deeper and more instinctive. It is the quiet awareness of her own fragility. The man who notices this without judgment, who understands it without trying to fix it, gains an advantage most men never even realize exists. Look around the modern world. Feminism, empowerment, independence. These ideas dominate the narrative, but they serve one purpose above all else: to conceal a deeper truth. Women know on an instinctive level that they are vulnerable. No amount of confidence, career success, or social approval can erase that reality. Those who see this clearly understand desire, respect, and influence at a level most men never reach. This is not about physical weakness. That is obvious and superficial. This is about something invisible yet powerful: emotional sensitivity, psychological exposure, and existential uncertainty. These forces quietly shape much of a woman's behavior, even when she refuses to acknowledge them. Here is the first uncomfortable truth. This fragility is not a flaw. It is not something broken that needs repair. It is part of her nature, part of the feminine design itself. The moment you stop pretending it does not exist, the moment you stop playing along with the illusion that women are invincible and untouchable, everything changes. You stop being just another man seeking attention, approval, or validation. You begin to see patterns others miss. You start understanding dynamics most men never question. Here is the irony many men fail to grasp. Women do not respect men who constantly reassure them of their strength. They are not impressed by the man who endlessly praises their independence or agrees with everything they say. In fact, such men are often quietly dismissed as weak, predictable, and unchallenging. What women are drawn to is far more subtle. They want a man who can see beyond the mask, who recognizes their vulnerability and remains calm, grounded, and unmoved by it. A man who can hold reality without flinching. That presence creates curiosity, respect, and desire in a way reassurance never can. Machiavelli understood this deeply. When he wrote that it is better to be feared than loved if one cannot be both, he was not advocating cruelty. He was exposing how human nature truly works and where real influence comes from. This truth becomes especially clear in male and female dynamics. When you acknowledge a woman's fragility without judgment and without trying to rescue her, you step into a quiet form of power. You move out of illusion and into reality. In that space, attraction and respect are not given freely. They are earned by the man who sees clearly and acts deliberately. There is also an invisible timer at play. Modern women often say they want equality in every domain. They claim they need no validation. But words mean little. Actions reveal everything. Watch where attention flows. Notice who receives devotion and desire. It is rarely the man who treats her as a perfect equal in all things. More often it is the man who subtly reminds her of a truth she avoids admitting even to herself, her vulnerability. Every woman carries a quiet tension inside her. Youth fades, fertility has limits, beauty changes, time moves forward relentlessly. No degree, job, or social status can stop it. This is not opinion, it is biology and reality combined. She knows this, even if she denies it. That awareness shapes her choices in subtle ways. Around a certain age, this pressure often intensifies. Jealousy, frustration, bitterness, or anxiety can emerge. These reactions are not moral failures, they are the collision between reality and the illusion society sold her. Understanding this dynamic explains behavior that otherwise appears irrational. It also explains why a calm, grounded, unshakable man becomes deeply attractive. He operates from truth, not fantasy. He embodies stability in a world she feels slipping away. Time is her silent opponent. Awareness of it gives you leverage, but only if you remain detached, patient, and observant. This is where real power begins. When you truly see a woman's fragility without contempt or denial, you stop living in need, you stop chasing approval, you stop allowing her validation to define your worth. Here is a truth she will never openly admit. She needs you more than you need her. Not because you are superior, but because biology and psychology favor men over time. A man's value can grow with age through discipline, status, purpose, and presence. A woman does not have the same timeline. She feels the clock. She feels pressure, fear of choosing wrong, fear of missing out, and your advantage is simple. You remain calm. You do not chase. You do not beg. You do not panic. That steadiness becomes magnetic. Most men fail because they reverse the natural order. They chase desperately. They sacrifice boundaries. They become needy. And when they do, attraction collapses. But when you act from self-respect instead of need, when your life has direction beyond her, she notices. You become unpredictable, grounded, and difficult to control. You become the prize. A man of value never begs for attention or approval. He always has options, not because of women, but because of who he is. His worth comes from his presence, his discipline, and the way he lives. True power is internal. So how do you deal with a woman's fragility without manipulation? First, never make her believe she is your only option. Even if she is, do not reveal it. Mystery sustains desire. Certainty kills it. Second, never make her the center of your life. Your mission must come first. Your world must be bigger than any one person. She should feel fortunate to be part of it, not entitled to control it. The moment your life revolves around her, you lose your edge, you become predictable, and respect quietly disappears. You stop being interesting the moment your life revolves around pleasing someone else. Attraction dies when a man has no mission beyond approval. Third, be unpredictable. Predictability is deadly. If she can guess what you will say, how you will react, or what you will do next, boredom sets in. A man who balances warmth with distance, generosity with restraint, keeps her mentally engaged. This is not about pretending or playing games. It is about being natural, subtle, and intriguing. Curiosity fuels desire. Certainty destroys it. When you remain strong and unmovable, you do more than attract attention. You teach her a truth most women rarely admit. Not every man is hers to control. Your life, your choices, and your value exist independently of her. She must earn your presence, not assume it. You demonstrate self-respect, boundaries, and emotional stability. You show that you cannot be shaken by insecurity, pressure, or manipulation. This is what separates men who chase and beg from men who attract effortlessly. When you stick to your standards, you stop seeking validation. You stop being needy. You stop giving away your power. What replaces it is presence, quiet, grounded, magnetic. She feels it immediately. No gossip, social pressure, or emotional tactics can weaken it. Stand firm, know your value, live your purpose, never compromise your standards. This is the path of real power. It separates men who are forgotten, manipulated, and undervalued from men who are respected, desired, and remembered. It is how a man becomes the prize instead of the pursuer. Reading her in social spaces requires awareness. A woman's insecurity is rarely obvious on its own. It reveals itself most clearly around other women, friends, co-workers, acquaintances, even strangers. She may appear polite, smiling, agreeable, But beneath that surface, subtle signals emerge. Watch closely. Small jokes with hidden digs, quiet comparisons, subtle competition disguised as casual conversation. Even harmless chatter often carries tension beneath it. These moments expose her inner doubts, fears, and fragile self-image. Here is the first rule. Do not get involved. Do not take sides. Do not enter her social conflicts. The moment you engage, you signal that your attention can be influenced. You become predictable, emotionally reactive, and tied to her moods. But if you stay detached, calm, and above the drama, something powerful happens. You become magnetic. You show that your life is larger than gossip and jealousy, that petty conflicts cannot touch you. That presence commands respect and attraction without effort. Her insecurity becomes even more visible around younger or more attractive women. Subtle shifts appear. She checks on you more often. She becomes flirtier. She seeks reassurance through attention. Or she withdraws, becoming quietly anxious. Deep down, she knows she is being measured. This is where most men fail. They rush to reassure. They flood her with compliments. They try to calm the tension. That destroys attraction. Instead, let the tension exist. Let her feel uncertainty. Let her question her position in your world. Let her understand that nothing is guaranteed. Properly handled, uncertainty fuels desire far more than constant validation ever could. When you navigate these dynamics correctly, you step out of her social games entirely. You become the prize. Your value remains untouched by competition, gossip, or envy. In practice, this means observing instead of reacting, understanding without emotional involvement, remaining calm when she tests you, seeks reassurance, or competes for attention. You maintain your independence and sense of self. At that point, her insecurities stop being a problem and start becoming information. You gain insight into her behavior, desires, and fears without manipulation or force. When you stop reacting and remain grounded, her fragility works in your favor. You gain respect, influence, and power naturally. You show that your worth is not dictated by approval, jealousy, or social standing. You move through life with quiet authority, aware of social dynamics, yet unaffected by them. Her fragility becomes insight. It becomes advantage. Mastering real power follows the same principle Machiavelli described. Authority is built through firmness, not cruelty. Leadership is not about being liked. Influence is not built through constant comfort. Sometimes, the strongest move is allowing reality to be felt. Let her face the outcomes of her choices. Do not rescue her from discomfort. Do not soften truth with empty reassurances. She may resent you at first. She may call you cold or insensitive, but over time, she will respect what she could not control. Her actions may seem unfair on the surface, but something important happens beneath it all. She respects you, not because you agree with her illusions, not because you support every desire or fantasy. She respects you because you stand firm. Your life, your choices, and your values exist independently of her moods, expectations, or emotional shifts. Respect follows strength, not compliance, and attraction grows naturally from that strength. Here is the truth most men never understand. The goal is not sex. It is not revenge. It is not proving anything to others or even to yourself. The real goal is to build a life so full of power, purpose, and meaning that women become a part of it but never a necessity. When your life is abundant, your identity is solid, and your presence is intentional, you stop chasing approval. Instead, people are drawn to you, not because you try, but because your energy and direction speak for themselves. And this is the ultimate insight. When your self-worth does not depend on her validation, Her fragility stops being a source of anxiety or obsession. It becomes information. A neutral reality you observe, understand, and navigate calmly. It is not a weapon, it is not leverage, it is a map. A guide that helps you act with clarity, control, and patience. This is the mark of true mastery. When life tests her illusions, you remain steady. Her fragility does not control your decisions, it informs them. From this position, everything changes. You stop being a man at the mercy of attraction. You become the man who sets the terms, defines the rules, and moves through life from a position of power. Becoming the unmoved man begins here. Let her believe she is strong, independent, and untouchable. Let her tell herself that story. Let her display it to the world. Let her live inside her illusions. Meanwhile, you focus on something far more important, your own life. You build your skills. You refine your purpose. You strengthen your presence. You increase your value and construct your own empire, whatever form that takes, without needing her approval, praise, or permission. One day, reality will remind her of a truth she cannot escape. Real strength is not claimed, it is earned. It cannot be faked through appearances, words, money, or attention. Strength is forged by facing reality, taking responsibility, and standing firm when others hesitate. Her deep need for security, stability, and guidance cannot be fulfilled by illusions. It can only be met by a man who truly stands his ground. This is where your real power lies. Once you understand this, resentment fades, confusion disappears. You stop feeling bitter about contradictions, moods, or social games. You see women clearly, not as enemies, but as participants in the same evolutionary reality you are navigating. You observe patterns, you recognize instincts, you understand motives, and you respond from awareness, not emotion, from strategy, not fear. The real question is not whether you will notice her fragility. That is already happening. The question is whether you will act consciously with discipline and purpose, or unconsciously driven by need, fear, or desperation. Most men fail because they are reactive. They chase approval. They let their happiness depend on her. They surrender their power without realizing it. Male-female dynamics have always involved power. They always will. The difference between men who struggle and men who rise is simple: awareness and discipline. The man who understands the rules and applies them without compromise elevates himself. The man who reacts emotionally remains trapped. The transformation is simple in concept, but difficult in execution. Stop seeking validation. Stop believing illusions. Stop allowing her approval to define your worth. Stand firm. Focus on your life. Let reality do the rest. When you do, you are no longer a player in her games. You are the one who sets the rules. You become the man she notices, respects, and cannot ignore. This is real power. This is mastery. This is transformation. And it begins the moment you choose to see clearly, act deliberately, and live by your own rules, regardless of what anyone else thinks. If this resonated with you, do not scroll past it. Share it with a man who needs to wake up. Subscribe and join us. This is not just content. It is a guide to building strength, control, and authority over your own life. Stop living on other people's terms. Start leading your own. The discipline of detachment. Most men lose power because they become emotionally reactive. They respond to moods, tests, and pressure instead of principles. The moment a man reacts instead of observing, he gives up control. Detachment is not coldness, it is discipline. A detached man does not rush to explain himself. He does not defend every action. He does not panic when attention shifts or silence appears. He understands that emotional restraint is strength. The more composed he remains, the more influence he gains. Women test stability constantly, sometimes consciously, often unconsciously. They challenge boundaries, question decisions, and create emotional tension to see what moves you. A weak man reacts. A strong man remains steady. Detachment creates contrast. While others chase, explain, and adjust, you remain grounded. This contrast is what separates you from the majority. It signals value without words. Another rule most men misunderstand: availability kills desire. When you are always present, always responding, always accessible, your presence loses weight. Scarcity creates value. Not artificial scarcity, but natural scarcity built from a full life. A man with purpose does not need to pretend to be busy. He is busy. His time is structured. His energy is invested. His priorities are clear. Women sense this immediately. When a woman feels that your attention is earned, not guaranteed, her behavior changes. She becomes more attentive, more curious, more invested. Not because you demanded it, but because value demands effort. Detachment also protects your clarity. When you are not emotionally entangled, you see behavior clearly, you notice patterns, you recognize manipulation, insecurity, and testing without being pulled into them. This is not about punishing or controlling anyone. It is about protecting your frame, your standards, your direction. A man without detachment becomes a servant to emotions, hers and his own. A man with detachment becomes a leader of his life. Here is the key shift. You stop asking, "How do I keep her interested?" and start asking, "Does this align with my standards, my values, my future?" That question alone changes everything. Detachment does not remove attraction, it intensifies it, because it signals self-respect, and self-respect is the foundation of power. When you master detachment, you no longer fear loss, and the man who does not fear loss cannot be controlled. That is where real strength begins.